Welcome to this special edition of MOT Matters. Now, you'll recognise this as an exhaust gas analyser, perhaps similar to one that you're used to using on an everyday basis for emissions testing. It's basically a simple computer, and information technology, IT, is what this video is all about. As many of you know, the MOT test is about to undergo a major revolution with the computerisation of test administration and the information flow between the Vehicle Inspectorate and test stations.
Good morning, Vehicle Inspectorate. How can I help you?
Today we're going to meet some of the people at the forefront of VI's computerisation scheme who will be able to tell you exactly what the project involves and how it will affect you.
Computerisation will affect all MOT testing stations, including those that test motorcycles. And the system will apply to test administration and control testing for all MOT classes of vehicles. That's through from Class 1 to 7, excluding Class 6, which are PSVs, which VI tests itself.
Why computerise the administration of the test?
Well, we wanted to make substantial improvements in testing standards, and by that means to raise public confidence in the scheme. So we're going to do this by collecting more and up-to-date information about the results of tests. We'll be capturing pass-fail data on all tests carried out. We'll be monitoring garage performance very closely to get increased consistency and to provide additional guidance where testers appear to be having difficulty carrying out tests properly. We'll be using the system to help testers avoid making unnecessary mistakes. For example, the system will prevent them putting in incorrect failure items, and we'll be improving enforcement to cut certificate theft and fraud, and this will give benefits both to vehicle testing stations and to the motoring public. We're going to achieve this by making it easier to check test status. For example, police and at relicensing will be able to check if they need to on the database to confirm that the test certificate they've been shown is valid. One of the key objectives of computerisation is to improve road safety. We're aiming to do that through more consistent application of testing standards. There'll be reduced use by the public of stolen and forged certificates. Therefore, fewer untested and therefore unsafe vehicles will be on the road. Hopefully, this will lead to fewer preventable accidents.
After a very careful and thorough procurement process lasting over 2 years, with over 100 expressions of interest, the contract was awarded to Siemens Business Services. Well, it's now July 2000, and VI's computerisation team are working hand in hand with them to deliver the project.
Siemens had the best value package, and that doesn't necessarily mean they were the cheapest. We felt they provided the best overall service both for VI and for testing stations. And we're very confident in Siemens' ability to deliver, and that's been confirmed by a Cabinet Office independent review of the project at the end of last year. Siemens are a big international company, and they have a reputation for successful innovation, both in the public and private sectors. And we've been very impressed throughout the project so far in their attention to detail.
Well, we're very particular about putting the customer first. We have a principle of think customer, act customer, and we work with the customer to ensure that the solutions that we provide are easy to use.
What will Siemens' role be within this particular project?
Well, of course, the first thing that we'll be doing is designing, building, and then implementing the system itself, the database. In addition to that, of course, we'll provide the network that will link the VTSs through to that database. But we'll also be responsible for publishing the documents and so on and distributing those, and of course producing the smart cards that the users have to use to get into the system.
Will VI's role be diminished in any way as a result of computerisation?
No, there'll be absolutely no change. VI is fully responsible and will remain fully responsible for supervising the scheme, even after completion of the rollout. Siemens are supporting VI in that function by providing certain services on our behalf.
It will all work like this. There'll be a secure central database held on the police national computer. The information on this database will include a record of vehicles, testing stations, authorised examiners, testers and all tests entered on the system. Every testing station will have at least one computer terminal and printer, with a connection via a telephone line to the central database. Each user will have a smart card to gain access to the system. VI users will be able to connect to the database through VI's own network. Vehicle examiners can also make a remote connection while away from base. Finally, vehicle information can be exchanged between DVLA's records and the new MOT system.
The system will enable us to pass information to and from garages much more efficiently. And this will mean, for example, things like special notices that are currently sent out in the post will instead be transmitted down the network. We'll have a national database for the first time, and this will give us much better information for policy making, instead of being limited to the information we can get from a very small 2% sample of tests. There'll be electronic ordering and payment mechanisms, so not only will garages have alternate systems of making payments, but they'll be able to order their pads of certificates electronically via the system. And there'll be more and more accurate information for garages and for VI to enable us to run the scheme jointly much more effectively.
Tim, once the service is fully operational, will it bring future opportunities for its users?
Yes, well, with the garages linked electronically, VI and ourselves will be looking at the e-commerce opportunities that this scheme could open up for the garages.
Computerising the administration of the test scheme will bring considerable benefits to test stations.
The first benefit will be that the testers will get more support in terms of information in the job that they're doing. It will help prevent people from making mistakes. It won't let them put in fail reasons that don't exist.
Will documentation be affected?
Yes, all documents that are currently issued to the public will be redesigned as part of the project. The computer will print the failure notices and the test certificates as part of the test process. And we're also providing facilities for the system to print advisory notices.
The test certificates and failure notices will be printed by the system, so people will only need to put the information into the system. They won't need to write it in different places. The monthly returns that at the moment have got to be filled in and sent in will be done automatically.
Some of the existing documents, for example the VT12, will disappear altogether, and I think this is something that garages will find a real benefit.
Now, are there any security implications involved?
Yes, the value of blank certificates will become much less because there are alternative ways of identifying what the test status of vehicles is.
Now, the test itself, is that going to take any longer?
No, the test itself will stay exactly the same. The only difference is the administrative processes at beginning and end.
The terminal will look something like this, which begs the question, what's involved and what will the Authorised Examiner have to provide? Stuart, what will Siemens actually provide and install in the garages?
Well, we'll provide the personal computer, the printer, the smart card reader, and also the smart card reader that goes onto the exhaust gas analyzer, together with all of the smart cards that testers and authorised examiners will need, and the consumables for the printer as well.
Right, what will the testing station actually be responsible for providing?
Testing station has to provide a suitable location for the PC, together with power socket available to it and a telephone line connection.
It will not be possible to link into other garage computer systems because this would compromise the security of the MOT system.
Will the garages need any new equipment?
No, the garage's existing equipment will be perfectly adequate. During the installation process, most garages that have got exhaust gas analyzers will have a smart card read-write device attached to them. But other than that, there will be no equipment changes necessary because of computerization.
John, will there be any training?
Yes, training is a most important element of the whole rollout process. The way it will work is that the trainers will actually deliver and install the kit and then give you the training necessary to make sure that you are confident in using the system before they leave that day.
What about help after that initial training?
Right, after that there'll be two forms of help available. The first will be using the system itself. It will actually have tutorials built in there that you'll be able to practice on. But secondly, there will also be a helpline available where you can phone up and get assistance with any problems.
Clearly, computerisation will bring benefits to VI, and many of these, in turn, will be passed on to the test stations.
Well, the system will conduct many routine administrative tasks electronically. For example, it'll take over the preparation of the information that's currently obtained from the VT12 register, and it'll take over the printing of test certificates. This means that when our examiners are auditing systems at the garage, they can focus very much on helping testers to improve their testing standards instead of looking at auditing procedures that are instead monitored by the system itself.
The management information that will be available to the authorised examiners who are responsible for running the test stations will be far better, so that they will be able to look at how their test station is doing and compare this to national averages, both in general and for particular types or ages of vehicle.
Of course, they'll have no access to records of particular AE's performance in their locality, but the information that they will get will enable them to manage their businesses much more effectively. And of course, VI will be able to use this information for its own activities, targeting, training and additional counselling and advice on appropriate garages.
Will the public have access to MOT records?
Yes, the public will have access to MOT records on their own vehicles or with the owner's permission. And that access will either be via an inquiry line or through a website that Siemens will be managing on our behalf. They'll be able to get access to MOT status of their vehicle or its MOT test history. But access will be restricted by the provisions of the Data Protection Act. They'll only be able to get vehicle details. Information about owners, past owners, will not be available. And no one will be able to get access to information about the businesses of other vehicle testing stations.
VI and Siemens Business Services have not been working in isolation. Both trade and consumer bodies have been consulted. Ian, what's the trade's attitude to the computerisation of the test scheme?
I think the trade's attitude is very positive. We welcome the opportunity to embrace technology and to go forward with it.
So how's the trade been involved so far?
We've been involved in the workshops, the sort of planning and design stages, and been very heavily involved in this, and we feel that the input that we've put into it has been acted upon.
So you're obviously happy with the response to your input?
Yes, very happy indeed. It's a team effort with all the parties involved.
The Vehicle Inspectorate is committed to keeping you informed, and all the issues will be covered fully in matters of testing. And later on, there'll be another video.
Early next year, we'll be running a series of seminars all over the country, jointly between the Vehicle Inspectorate and Siemens Business Services. They will run through any queries you may have and answer all your questions.
Are the trade going to continue to be consulted?
The trade bodies and consumer groups will be fully consulted all the way through. There'll be further articles in the trade press as well. We will also be producing a further video which will be distributed free with matters of testing before rollout, illustrating exactly how you undertake a test using the new system.
Although the system does not yet actually exist in the metal, so to speak, there are already indications of how the tester will use it.
The tester will start off by putting his smart card into the computer terminal and entering his PIN number. The tester will be asked to put in the registration mark and the VIN number of the vehicle he's testing. The system will then go to the DVLA database and get information on the particular make, model, etc. of the vehicle being tested. This will also be used to provide information from the central database on the peculiarities of testing that particular vehicle. The tester will have a checklist that the system has produced to help him with the test. He'll do the test in the normal manner, But when he gets to the exhaust gas analyzer, he'll put his smart card into the exhaust gas analyzer to get the results information loaded onto the smart card. At the end of the tester goes back to the terminal and puts his smart card in. The system downloads the results of the emissions test, and the tester feeds in the information from the checklist. The system will then print out either a pass certificate or a fail notice with reasons for failure, and the certificate or the fail notice will be given to the vehicle presenter in the usual manner.
Now, what happens if anything goes wrong with the system?
Right, clearly we will have arrangements in place that even if there is a fault with the system, you can carry on testing under almost every circumstance.
Now, in terms of the manual that everyone's familiar with, will that still be available?
Yes, that will still be available. It will be available both electronically and on paper.
Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are maybe not that familiar with computers. Is it going to be an easy system to use?
Yes, well, we've put a lot of effort into understanding how garages carry out tests and how they go about their day-to-day operations, so we're confident the system will be easy to use.
How will all of this be paid for?
Siemens will be paid based on the number of successful tests completed. This in turn will be passed on to the test customers via an increase in the pad fee, which will in turn be added on to the total test fee chargeable.
Right, now realistically, when will all this be operational?
The completion of rollout will be by the end of 2002. This is a fairly major project. It involves rolling out equipment to 19,000 sites, training more than 50,000 people. At its peak during the rollout, Siemens will be installing and training 900 sites every week.
This gives an idea of the timescales. The contract with Siemens Business Services was signed in February 2000. The detailed and thorough design process will complete this autumn. With a project as complex and big as this, development will take about a year. The system will then be subjected to an in-depth test and trial period beginning in the autumn of 2001. It will move from the laboratory to field testing in up to 1,000 test stations. This phase will run until spring 2002. Once the system has been proven, full rollout and delivery of the services will begin. On-site training and installation should be completed by the end of that year. This is a long-term relationship between VI and Siemens Business Services that will continue for the next 10 to 14 years. The initial design workshops are complete, and VI and Siemens Business Services are ready to move on to the next stage.
Siemens are already working on the system design work with the benefit of the help and the information they've had from the trade and others in the user workshops.
Will you need any other information from the test station?
We will be sending out questionnaires to test stations to confirm the accuracy of the information that we have already on them, and we'll also be asking for some more detailed information on testers.
Hugh, what final message would you like to give to authorised examiners and testers out there?
Well, we're confident we're developing a system that's fit for 21st century MOT testing. It will give the scheme a much more up-to-date and reassuring image with motorists and with the trade. It'll provide a platform in the future for electronic relicensing, and this will mean we no longer need to rely on the test certificate as the main proof of MOT status.
We're confident that bringing together Siemens' experience of major projects and the Vehicle Inspectorate's knowledge and experience of the MOT scheme, putting those two things together, we're confident this project will be successful.
Embrace technology, look to the future. I think it will improve the MOT test, it will enhance the business, and I think we will all benefit in the long term.
There's nothing to be afraid of. It will do a great deal to improve the image of the MOT testing trade, and that is bound to be a major benefit to all of us.
We've tried to give you an overview of how VI are working in partnership with Siemens Business Services to computerise the administration of the MOT test scheme. MOT Matters will return to this subject in a future video when we'll see a pilot installation actually working. We'll also detail all of the areas surrounding the operation of the service as MOT testing begins to take advantage of IT. As we've seen, the project will continue to be covered in matters of testing. But if you do want any more information, you can contact the Computerisation project team at this email or postal address.